The thrill is gone. The MCU has a major problem, not just with avid MCU fans, but also with gaining a new audience who wants to love these films or wants to at least support the films because of, their favorite star is in it. Like Jonathan Majors has, a great following who supports him as a movie star. And so this is a great opportunity for his fans to come along who maybe haven't followed the MCU or who don't traditionally go to the movies to see superhero films. And this would have been a great opportunity for his fans to follow him into the MCU. This is not a good story, though, and I hope that they don't have a bad taste in their mouths because of this story and because of this film. It's a letdown, but there is hope, obviously, for the MCU. But Phase 5 is not off to a good start. Now, full disclosure, I did not see the other two Ant-Man films. I am one of the Jonathan Majors supporters who was interested in this film just because he's playing a villain. I would otherwise not have seen that. And I know there are a lot of people like me who, first of all, the trailers weren't great and they weren't enticing, but you want to support Jonathan Majors. But this just, it was a complete cluster. The entire film just seemed so cluttered and busy and unfocused. Like, where do you focus? What do you focus on? The story was really uninteresting. It's so scientific-y. The story detached me because it wasn't interesting. And it's just too busy. Like, where do you really focus? What do you focus on when the story is uninteresting? The CGI is a little murky. It wasn't cohesive. And again, there were beautiful shots. There really were beautiful shots, but it just was so cluttered. There was so much on the screen, so many visuals that it just seemed distracting. I saw this in Dolby, and there were a lot of 3D showings and, of course, IMAX showings. I could not possibly, this would have probably given me a headache if I saw this in 3D because it's so busy. And then it's too noisy. It is so loud and noisy. And granted, again, I saw it in Dolby, but it's like every shot has music. It's paired to music or it's paired to a score. It's just so, I can't believe that this is the Phase 5 opener. The humor is dull and they beg for laughs. I was in a pretty much packed crowd at this showing on Thursday night, and there were laughs, but it was the type of laugh that conceded to the fact that it really wasn't funny, but you wanted to be in on the joke. And the story beats are uninteresting, and there are major plot holes that destroy the natural progression of the hero's journey, all for the sake of charting a path for Jonathan Majors, his villain, who he plays, Kang the Conqueror. It's as if this is just a setup to make way for his film and for how he'll show up in the different films in this phase. Conceptually, the story and character arcs are unbalanced, unfocused. Kang is in an entirely different film than Scott Lang. They're in two different films. It seems like Scott Lang was trying to tie up loose ends from the other two Ant-Man movies, or trying to make the other films make sense in this one. And Jonathan Majors' character, Kang, was preparing for a movie that hasn't even been written yet. Like, it's his point to be in this movie was the setup for future films. That we didn't deserve that kind of movie. Granted, we already know that he's going to play Kang in the future. That's fine. And that he's played it in Loki. Okay, that's fine. But focus on this story. This is supposed to be about Ant-Man and the Wasp. Kang the Conqueror should not have dominated this film and dominated this story the way that he did. It weakened the hero's journey. It weakened Scott Lang's story overall. The MCU has a connection issue. It is not connecting audiences. Again, not just avid MCU fans, but any new audience member or moviegoer who wants to be interested, who wants to give it a try. That moviegoer is not going to be interested if this is the introduction. I think this all comes down to the writing. There needs to be an overhaul, starting with world building and story concepts that don't anchor every movie to the other, that doesn't anchor every story to the other. Honestly, there is no reason to pay good money to see this film in the theater if you are not necessarily endowed in, this particular IP. If you're not really into Ant-Man, the comic, I don't think you want to run to go see this. Again, it's too busy, it's unfocused, not inviting. It's not welcoming to that new audience. And for that reason alone, I think, if you haven't seen this yet, you should wait and maybe see it on Disney Plus when it is released in May. Because paying good money for this movie, I really think a lot of people are going to be disappointed.